Are you thinking about buying a Matterport Pro 3 camera? Have you bought a Matterport Pro 3 camera and seek training to help you succeed faster? Stay tuned.
This episode of WGAN-TV is sponsored by Momenzo. Create professional listing videos within minutes using your smartphone, automatic editing, and real estate video templates. Save 25% with coupon code GET25 at wgan.info/Momenzo. Offer may be withdrawn at any time.
Hi all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, September 28th, 2023, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. We have an awesome show for you today. Matterport Pro 3 camera training, getting started with Matterport Scanning. Our subject matter expert today is Tom Sparks. Tom is founder and CEO of Scan Your Space, a division of Sparks Media Group. Tom, thank you for sharing your Matterport Pro 3 camera scanning experience with us.
Wonderful introduction. Your check is in the mail, sir.
Thank you, Tom. Before we jump into today's topic, tell us about Scan Your Space and Sparks Media Group.
Sure. So I started Sparks Media Group about 2018, and it was really geared towards residential real estate, anything media related to sell a house. So photography, of course, floor plans, 3D tours, virtual staging, all that sort of thing. Shortly after that, I launched Scan Your Space, which is more of the commercial side of things, where we scan industrial spaces. We do a lot of scans for hospitality industry, marketing purposes, all the way to emergency preparedness, and kind of everything in between.
And the kind of clients for commercial clients, commercial spaces, any additional kinds of spaces?
Oh yeah, we're pretty much running the gamut. We're doing restaurants, we're doing bakeries, we're doing fitness centers, we're doing cell phone stores, we've done a baseball stadium, a car dealership, we've done airplanes, kind of varies pretty much every industry.
And Tom, you mentioned we. Tell us about we. What does that mean?
Yeah, so I have several photographers that work for me. In California, we cover all of California. We're also expanding into other states. So we're in Texas, we're in Arizona, we're in New Mexico, we're in Nevada. So we're kind of like trying to expand outward as we go.
Okay, great. Your website's scanyourspace.com, sparksmediagroup.com. Tell us about your experience with the Matterport Pro 3 camera.
Yeah, so I was trying to hold off as long as possible at buying one, not for anything other than the price of it. I didn't want to spend the money. We have several Pro 2s that we were happy with, but being able to scan outside was huge once that kind of was released with the Pro 3, or it made it easier with the Pro 3. So I bought my first one, I think in September, October, November, somewhere around there of 2022. And it's been great. I recently purchased a second one, and I'm hoping to get more soon.
Cool. And what kind of spaces have you used the Matterport Pro 3 camera? And perhaps the kind of spaces, how many scans? Do you have some estimate on that?
Oh, over 300 or 400 by this point. We scan frequently. So we've done a museum, Shadelands Ranch Museum in Walnut Creek, California, which included a Victorian style house as well as the grounds around it. My office is on Mare Island in Vallejo, which is a former Navy base. And so I've done a lot of scanning around the Navy base.
That's between San Francisco and Sacramento.
Correct, about halfway between. So I scanned the outside area there to give people who worked on the island and people who are not able to come visit it kind of the ability to do a walking tour and visit some of the old commanders' houses. I recently scanned a BMW dealership in Fairfield, California for the construction company that built it, Teamworks. And so they had us go in and scan it, and they're using that for marketing purposes and to show potential future clients, the services they can provide and the quality of work that they can provide. We recently did an apartment building that's new construction, and we've been scanning some before and after. So before sheetrock, when there's just studs up and wires and pipes, and after sheetrock, so that once it's enclosed, if anybody has questions about where wires or pipes are, they can reference the before scan. We're also doing that to get data files so that we can get renders made of the apartment building finished so that they can start working on getting the spaces leased out. So that's been helpful to the marketing company that's doing the website for the leasing.
Do you think it's been hundreds of scans with the Matterport Pro 3 cameras that you have now?
Yeah, I'd say somewhere between over 300 for sure. Maybe higher.
All right, cool. So Tom has been our guest on WGAN-TV Live at 5 previously, talking about the Matterport Pro 3 camera, including 10 pro tips for scanning with the Matterport Pro 3 camera and what I've learned from using a Matterport Pro 3 camera to scan a baseball stadium. You can find those 2 shows plus all our shows on the Matterport Pro 3 camera by going to wgan.info/Pro3 on WGAN. Tom, let's segue into the Matterport Pro 3 camera training. Let's start with gear. What is the minimum amount of gear? In fact, why don't we start even just by showing us the Matterport Pro 3 camera? Yeah. And maybe you can point out everything that you'd want to show on that device.
Sure. So I'm just reaching for it. I actually happen to have it with me. So this is the Pro 3. Here's the front. There's a magnetic lens cap that comes with it. Keeps it protected from getting scratched and getting dust on it. This is the back. So you hit the button right here. We give you a power indicator. If you hold it down, it turns it on. On the bottom side, there's a removable battery. And then this is where the quick release mounts to, the tripod mount.
So you took the battery out while the camera was starting. Was that a problem?
It wasn't starting. I just held it in to show the battery indicator.
Okay. And why is it helpful to know which is the back of the camera?
Because that's where you want to stand. Otherwise, you'll be immortalized and tour forever. And so,
okay. So remind me where the back of the camera is, how I know that?
Where the LCD screen is.
Okay. And so when you press that button, it sounds like you have 2 things you can do. You can press it to see your battery charge. So correct. I think it's close to 100%.
Yeah, 95.
95%. And then if you hold it down further, is that going to turn it on?
Yeah, I'll hold it down for you.
Okay.
About 3 seconds. No, sorry, hold on. Let it go too soon.
And am I going to hear anything? I see the logo coming up.
Yeah, the logo pops up. You don't hear anything. And at some point, you're going to get a Wi-Fi prompt to connect your device to it.
Okay. All right. So what's that, in case it doesn't pop up here? Is your tablet on right now? You're actually traveling to a hotel, so this might be a little bit different today. Is it going to find the hotel Wi-Fi?
No, it should find it. Still turning on here. Hasn't connected yet.
Okay, now I see something different. So
now you're getting prompted to connect to the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
And
thanks for doing the show while you're traveling as well. We appreciate that. Glad you have a rock solid connection in your hotel room.
Me too. So it just prompted for the to connect to the Matterport Wi-Fi. So okay. It's automatically connecting because I've connected to it before. And now we're connected. So from whenever you first noticed that it changed till just now is how long it took for it to connect.
Okay. And what are you looking at to know that? Are you looking at your...
Oh, I was looking at the Wi-Fi on my iPad.
Okay.
over here to the side.
So we'll come back to that in a moment. Let's talk about minimum configuration, minimum gear that you need, because you obviously need more than a Matterport Pro 3 camera. You spent $6,000 to buy the camera. What else do you need to buy? I think about this a little bit like when I was a child buying fish. The fish were really cheap. It was all the accessories that started to add up in money.
Or it's like buying a printer. The printer's cheap, but the ink is expensive.
Yeah. So what else? You mentioned a tablet. So tell us about the tablet that you have and why.
Yeah, so I like having a big screen to look at. You can control it with an Android or an iPhone, an iOS device, but I use an iPad Pro. I just recently bought the 6th gen iPad Pro, so it's a 2 terabyte hard drive and 16 gigs of RAM. And I did that because I ran into an issue with the Pro 3 when using my 4th gen iPad Pro. The tour kept crashing as I was trying to scan, and I couldn't figure out why. I tried it on a different device, wasn't really working. And it wasn't until I called Matterport and they said, well, you should upgrade your device. And I'm thinking, well, I have the 4th gen, that's pretty good. But I just, went out and bought the newest one they had, newest one, Apple had out. And after I bought,
was the issue the processor, or was the issue the storage, or both?
They didn't confirm, and I don't really know because at that time I also had a lot of tours on the device. It wasn't enough to fill up the hard drive at all. It may have only been about 500 gigs out of 2 terabytes or whatever that size was. Wasn't more than a quarter, I don't think.
Okay.
But once I switched devices, I stopped running into issues for a while. I still ran into.
What was the problem? What wouldn't happen that should have happened?
Yeah, so I would do a scan and it would just crash partway through the scan. It was on Mare Island. I was doing this big outdoor space. I think I had got up to, I think total right now is about 900,000 square feet. And when I was running into the issues, it was probably around 500,000 square feet.
Had you experienced the issue with the Matterport Pro 3 camera and your 4th generation iPad when you were doing, quote, normal size spaces, smaller?
No, and another difference was this was an all outdoor space. So there was no inside spaces. And so I'll fast forward a little bit. Once I got the new device, it picked up and it started going well until I got around 700 scans, and then it just would not align at all. And that was about 900,000 square feet. And when I reached out to Matterport, they said because there's a lot of trees and just a ton of detail outside, that it just kind of was overloading and they didn't really have a fix for it.
Okay, so let me see if I can simplify that. Correct me if I'm wrong. For the vast majority of those using a Matterport Pro 3 camera to do indoor scans, 50,000 square feet and less, maybe some outdoor scanning of a building that's 50,000, 100,000 square feet, that's not something that you've experienced any problems with. We both obviously read the We Get Around Network forum. There's only a handful of problems I've ever seen reported in the forum about the Matterport Pro 3 camera, and this particular issue is not one of them. So I'm going to guess, because of the number of scans and the amount of outdoor space that you were doing, you really are pushing the limits at 700 scans and 500,000 square feet that the 6th generation iPad solved.
Yeah, well, it was 900,000 square feet. I'd like to say that just because that's the max that I hit at the 700 scan point.
Oh, what was the issue with the 500,000?
500 was when they told me to switch from the 4th to the 6th.
Because you were having problems then.
I was having problems. Yeah.
So as soon as you switched to the 6th generation Apple iPad, you were able to complete the space that was 900,000 square feet, which was all outdoors. And the problem had started at 500,000 square feet where you're starting to have scanning issues.
No, so it was crashing at around 500,000 square feet, or maybe 400 scans. And once I switched to the 6th gen, I was able to do an additional 300 or so scans and get an additional 400,000 square feet. And then it just wouldn't align. And I think it's just me testing the limit. I've seen recently on the Moog Facebook group that somebody did 2,200 scans with the device. And I'm pretty sure that was a Pro 3. I don't know for sure, but I've also done 70,000 square feet with no issues indoors.
Okay, so our
kind of a one-off.
So, when I think about who our audience today is, somebody that's maybe thinking about buying a Matterport Pro 3 camera, upgrading from a Matterport Pro 2 camera, maybe it is their first time that they're getting started with Matterport scanning, even with a Matterport 3 camera. I guess that if you have a 4th generation, 5th generation, 6th generation, 7th, you're probably okay. But if you're just buying an iPad or an Android tablet for the first time, I think what you're probably going to recommend, certainly I would recommend, is, get the most storage with the most memory in order to prevent issues that may develop in the future, even if you think you'll never do 900,000 square feet. Just in case, you might as well have the right tool for the job.
Yeah. Just being an extremist and future proofing. I'm hoping Disney will call me to scan Disneyland, and I want to be able to be prepared. And yeah, so I guess we'll know when I get another big outdoor scan.
Okay, well, I think obviously Disney and Anaheim, but I'm thinking that Epcot and Disney World might be bigger opportunities. You want to set your sights higher.
I'm too low. Yeah.
Okay. So for any of those that are interested in having their theme park scan, Tom has some experience doing large outdoor spaces, including 900,000 square feet. Okay, so you got 2 devices. You mentioned that you could use a smartphone, either an iPhone or an Android. Why would you recommend a tablet rather than a smartphone? Because I know some people are going to think, oh, I could save some money if I use my smartphone rather than getting a tablet.
Yeah, you can certainly save some money. I have an iPhone 14 Pro Max, and I've used it sometimes when I'll forget my iPad, or the kid kills the battery on it watching a TV show. So I've used the iPhone and it works fine. It's just, for me, I like having a bigger screen when I'm marking mirrors and windows and trim. It's a little easier to do when you can zoom in on a bigger.
Okay, so we'll talk about that later in the show. So so far on the minimum gear, I have a Matterport Pro 3 camera and a tablet, ideally one that has the most memory and the most
storage. Yeah.
Has the most storage and also the fastest processor.
Yep.
What else is the minimum that you need to walk out the door and scan, or even scan your hotel room? What is the absolute minimum you need?
You're going to need a tripod.
Okay.
So I have a couple, and I don't know if we can put links later on, but I like this ProMaster Specialist SP532C. It's a really strong carbon fiber professional tripod. I also have a Manfrotto. I don't really care for it too much.
Why not?
I don't know. I guess looking at it now, it operates very similar to the ProMaster. It's just, I think the ProMaster, it can get taller. I don't have the specs on how tall it can get, but yeah. I'm 5'9" and it can go over my head. I just like it.
Okay. I'll ask you more about that later. Maybe you can send those links and we'll put it in the show notes. That'd be great. Sure. Is there, I could imagine that if anyone is thinking about buying it, like you're first at buying a tripod, I would say probably the key thing is, well, what's the weight? Because tripods are rated. So you, like with a Matterport Pro 2 camera, it's pretty heavy. So you need a certain size tripod that's not flimsy, that will support the weight of that Pro 2 camera rotating. would I not everyone wants to go out and spend $350, $450 on a tripod. Is a $150, $175, a $200 tripod perfectly fine, will support the weight of the Pro 3
Yeah.
camera?
Yeah, I think I bought this one because it's lightweight, it's carbon fiber, it's sturdy. But if I bought like a aluminum one, I'm sure it would have maybe tolerated a lot more wind better. I just don't always do a lot of outdoor scans. So thinking about what I use it for on a day-to-day basis, indoor in hotels or in restaurants or whatever, I wanted something that I could pick up and carry along with me.
That was light, and therefore you were using fiber, carbon fiber, and
Correct.
you're doing a lot of scans outdoors and it's windy, you may want the weight of an aluminum tripod.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else on tripod? How do you
No.
connect, how do you connect the tripod to the Matterport Pro 3 camera?
Yeah, so Matterport has a quick release clamp mount, which is this nice little device. And this is it a 3/8, if I'm not mistaken, thread. I should have had these technical details down a little bit better, but I simply screw it on to the tripod.
Okay. So to clarify, it's going on a professional grade tripod. It's not going on a consumer grade tripod that typically has a smaller thread.
Correct. And the tripods that I bought, this ProMaster and I think even the Manfrotto, you can take it off and flip the threads around. So you can have the smaller 1/4 inch, if I'm not mistaken, or flip it back and have the 3/8. So yeah, it mounts right to it. And then there's this clamp right here. It's closed. So you open it up and you just put the tripod, the Pro 3 on it, and then you close the clamp and it's locked in and good to go.
So you've done a lot of scanning. Any issues in terms of, oh, you have some angst because the camera is separated from the tripod, the quick release clamp just kind of unlocked?
No, I've never experienced with the Pro 3 that it just randomly came unlocked. I will say that on a rare occasion, and I know other people have had maybe issues with this, I'm going to take this off so you can see it. This becomes loose. And that brings us, I guess, to one of the other items that we should carry, which is a 3mm hex key. I happen to have bought a small rig kind of multi-tool that has one in there. So to get this back tight, it's pretty simple. You just take the key, put it in here, tighten it down a little bit till it's hand tight, I guess you want to say. And then
have you had any problems with this, or is it just because you've read in the We Get Around Network forum there were some early purchasers of the Matterport Pro 3 camera that reported loosening of the quick release clamp, and that the solution for them was to use a 3mm hex key? Or no, you actually experienced that piece?
It can get a little loose, I think, just by virtue of continuously opening and closing it, especially with the number of scans that we've done. Even right now, just doing it, it's a little loose. It's not completely loose, but it's a little loose. So just give it a little snug, and I have to do that regularly with my tripod just because of the amount of use.
So we're talking about minimum gear. This is really literally required as part of the minimum gear, because if you're on site and you're doing a Matterport scan and you're either at risk of your quick release clamp opening, or it does get loose and you realize it, you'll come to a halt because you won't be able to continue your scan. So it's a totally inexpensive tool. Many of us already have these things anyway. You have your multi-purpose clamp. 3mm hex So we've covered Pro 3, tablet, tripod, hex key. What else do you consider as a minimum that you have on site with you?
And just going back, this is about $25 on Amazon. The ProMaster tripod comes with a few hex keys as part of their little toolkit. So it's a bonus if you get that. You don't have to pay extra money for that.
Okay.
Moving on, the camera itself comes with a charger, which I'll show you.
Did the camera come in its own case when you bought it?
It did.
Or a case or
It comes in a little soft case.
okay, can you show us that? Could you put it back in there so we can see what that looks like?
Yep.
I know you're trying to
I'm no fan of white over here.
you're trying to do it for our television show, so it's a little bit hard. You're doing it backwards to yourself, but it goes in there. And is that foam on either side of it?
Yeah, it's foam on the inside and it's like a soft, hard shell on the outside.
And it has a zipper to close.
It has a zipper to close.
And is that sufficient, or do you really need a hard case or a backpack?
No, I would recommend getting some other case to put it in, just because you're going to have all these accessories you want to take.
We'll talk about that in a moment. Case backpacks, charger, batteries.
So I'll show you. Here's the charger cradle for it. Pretty simple. The battery just sits in it like that. It'll flash a few times that, I guess that it's connecting, trying to read the battery level, and then it'll start charging. It comes with
I missed the cord. Oh, great. What is it that we have there?
So this goes into the charging cradle.
Yep.
And then on the other side is a USB-C.
Yep.
And that goes into a charging brick, which has two USB-C connections on it. And I mentioned that because this saved my life this recent trip. I have all these different cables, probably about 20 USB-C and lightning cables in my bag. And I didn't have any USB-A, I guess is what it is, to USB-C. And a lot of these hotels I've been staying at only have USB-A. So I wasn't able to charge my devices. And I was like, wait a minute, I have this brick from the Pro 3. So I took it out and now I'm fully charged on this trip.
Awesome.
So yeah, it comes with that. Another, kind of minimum gear that I would recommend is getting
just for clarification, it ships. The Matterport Pro 3 camera ships with one charger. It ships with one battery. It ships with the quick release plate. Clamp. It has that soft shell clamshell case for it.
And you also get international charging adapters. I don't have those with me because I haven't charged internationally, but there's a handful of different adapters you can put on. So if you do happen to be traveling overseas or somewhere, not your home territory, you can easily charge.
Okay, great. Anything else that's minimum requirements, the very minimum to always carry?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider a spare battery a minimum. Being that the Pro 3 now has a removable battery, why not have a second one? I actually have 4 or 5 between my two devices.
All right, so we'll talk about nicely loaded in a moment. Still looking for what's the absolute minimum. So the minimum is you need one battery, you need one charger. Not to say that that's how that's not nicely loaded, but that's the minimum.
Yeah.
What else?
Somebody, I don't know if you want to talk about battery. I haven't gotten into testing fully, but these batteries last a really long time. I've done 5, 6, 7 hours of scanning and still been on the same battery. So, just depending on the size of space you're scanning, it's helpful to have 2 of them.
Okay. I want to say Matterport says 4 hours or so. So you're finding that you're getting way more. So the minimum is you're going to need one battery, or let's say if you're doing up to 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, one battery may be sufficient. But if you're doing a 10-hour day, you're definitely going to need at least 2.
Definitely going to need 2. It's always better just to have extra batteries. If an iPhone came out with a removable battery, I'd definitely get a second battery for that. So I always just say extra batteries.
So I'm looking at my notes that we talked about before the show, and I see lens cloth. Do you typically travel with the lens cloth, or you don't? There's nothing to use a lens cloth on. Okay.
No, I do have a lens cloth. I don't have it with me. Shame on me. You should always carry a lens cloth.
Yeah, I want to say that I've read in the We Get Around Network forum that when a Matterport Pro 3 service provider was having some scanning issues, another member jumped in and said, hey, if you use the lens cloth, you're going to have you're going to eliminate the dust that's causing alignment errors. So a member in the We Get Around Network forum at Iris 3D offered that tip. But where would you use the lens cloth? What is it that you're dusting? Where is it the front lens? It has not. You're not going to touch anything related to the laser. You're just going to do that front glass lens. Is that correct?
Well, no. And so I think he's right because, I think he's right, but I will say that I've done a scan and it wasn't aligning and I forgot about the cover. And so it doesn't know how to align. So I'm wondering if he's recommending using a lens cloth to avoid an alignment issue. How dirty was that lens? Had to have been.
So that's the lens. I see the lens, but what about the laser?
Yeah, so I'll say that I rent out cameras now. So I rented one to a gentleman in Iowa or somewhere, and he used it to scan a cement factory, I think. And when he sent it back, it looked like just a dusty mess. And I started to cry a little bit. But then I took my lens cloth that Matterport sends with the camera, and I wiped off the lens and let's see, I'll turn it. So you can turn this laser, or not the laser, but the mirror. And I cleaned the mirror. And there's actually, now that I'm looking at it, there's still a little bit of dust right around the edge that I may have missed. But then you would also want to kind of wipe in there too.
So there's 2 places inside, or a total of 3 places to use your lens cloth.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
these things are super cheap. Just go on to Amazon, just type in lens cloth, and you buy. In fact, I buy 25 at a time, and I put them in because of my eyeglasses, I put them in every room in the house. So there's always a lens cloth someplace. Okay.
And this golf style shirt that I have that I always wear on a regular basis for work, it doesn't do a good job at getting rid of the moisture or whatever's on it. So I do have to carry them.
So we've just covered what is absolutely the minimum essential gear. Let's move on to Matterport Pro 3 camera gear nicely loaded.
Oh, can we go back to maybe a minimum?
Sure.
We need a case for a tablet if we're going to use.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll show you mine. I think this was maybe 20 or so on Amazon. So it has a hand strap, and put your hand right here and hold it. So when I'm on site, I'm kind of just doing this. I also use the neck strap on a regular basis. So this is helpful. I'm walking around and I'm just looking down the whole time and controlling the iPad, and then I'll pick up the tripod and move it, and I got my hand here and this there, and I'm good to go. So yeah, I think it's about maybe $20 or so.
They're so inexpensive. And I think there's actually 3 ways that I know that I've used something like that. You've mentioned 2. One is your hand and the ability just to hold this, because you want to use this other hand to pick up the tripod.
Yeah.
Second, of being able to hang it around your neck, because you may be picking up the camera and there may be something else. And I want to say that the third is to actually, there's a kickstand on it. So you might be in, let's say, in this hotel room that you're in, and you might step, while it's rotating, you might step into the bedroom and then just put it down on the table because you're tired of holding it or having the strap on you.
Yeah, I use the kickstand for watching Netflix. Not so much for scanning, but yeah, to your point, it works that way too.
Okay, great. All right. So moving on, Matterport Pro 3 gear, nicely loaded. What would you like to talk about? What is it that you feel that is really, for anyone that's doing this for a living, you'd really want to have the following?
Yeah, so I'm gonna do like one of your previous other guests probably, or I think I've seen you do it a few times, and lean back and hold up this nice hard case that I got from Matterport. This is actual Matterport case. And here on the inside, let's see if I can do this. You got the space for your case that the Pro 3 comes in. These all hold batteries, so you could have 2, 4, 6 of them maybe. You have 2 spots for the charging cradles. And then over here, I usually put the charging cradles. Over here, I put the charging cables and maybe the charging bricks. And then here, there's a couple spots where I have door stops, or they're called wedgets. And these are really good to have in the case. So I have 2 of them here, and I have about 10 of them in my trunk.
Okay. Can you pull out the wedget for a second?
Yeah.
Let's put the case down for a moment. Incidentally,
My arm thanks you.
Pardon?
My arm thanks you.
Yes, I can appreciate that. I'll also mention that one of the members of the We Get Around Network forum, mycasebuilder.com, also can configure your case so that it's nice hard foam to protect everything. But I worked with them to design cases for the Matterport Pro 3 camera that also include nicely holding an iPad. Yeah,
and I actually purchased 2 of them. They're great, and the ones that I purchased have kind of they have wheels on it, but it also has like that luggage style roller handle you pull out.
There's 3 that we did. You can find those cases at WGAN.info/mycasebuilder.
So I bought this one previous to seeing. I don't think you guys had worked together yet, so I bought the one from Matterport, and then once you guys had that show that I watched, I went out and bought a couple from him.
All right,
great provider.
The wedget doorstop. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I often run into situations whether the bottom of the door is too far from the floor or it's too close, really tight tolerances. Standard door stops don't always fit, or sometimes you have to stack a couple up. And so when I saw that Matterport was offering a version of these, I got on Amazon, and I think they're about $15 each maybe, but they're super helpful. So you can use it like a regular doorstop and put it into the door, or you can set it on the hinges. And I usually use kind of the middle hinge on a 3-hinge door, and it will wedge in between the hinges. I think you can use it another way on top. I haven't used it for that, but I often will use it on the hinge part. So these are super helpful to have.
Yeah, I think I bought my first wedget in 2014 when I was out scanning. And the first time I had to go from inside to outside on a windy day with a very heavy door, I was so happy that I had that particular wedget, WEDGE-IT. They're on Amazon. Because there was a ginormous gap underneath the door to the floor. The door was incredibly heavy, and it was incredibly windy, and that couldn't have done it any other way.
These are great. It's one of those things where it's like, why didn't I think of that? It's like so simple.
All right, so you've bought 3 hard cases, or at least 3 hard cases. What about backpacks? Would you feel comfortable putting the Matterport Pro 3 camera in a backpack?
I'm not much of a backpack guy.
Okay.
I have my camera.
So maybe I'll say it a different way. If you're if you're looking to be on an airplane and you get a camera designed backpack, then that may be a way to say, oh, it's not checked luggage. I'll be able to take it on the flight. Certainly one of the cases we designed with mycasebuilder.com will fit up above in luggage, so you can carry it on. So that's that may be just a personal preference. It is a $6,000 device, plus you have all this other gear. Nearly all of that other gear will fit in a case that's designed for it. So,
yeah, I think it's personal. I could see use cases for carrying a backpack. I just happen to prefer hard cases. I'm able to ship these FedEx and no issues. And if I had just a backpack, I'd have to go out and get a hard case or pay FedEx extra to have them packaged up. So I will say that my case builder case, I actually prefer that over the Matterport one because it has that cutout for the iPad. And although this will fit in the Matterport case, it just makes it, I feel like everything is just really squished in there. And with my case builder case, I don't feel that.
WGAN.info/my case builder, 3 different Matterport Pro 3 camera cases I helped them design, and I actually helped them design the Matterport Pro 2 camera cases as well.
Right.
You mentioned batteries. How many batteries do you typically take with you, and why is it more than 1 or 2?
Yeah, so if it's a really big project, I'll take 3. If it's anything under 100,000 square feet, I'll take 2. I never really leave home with 1.
Chargers? Do you have more than 1 charger? Do you have like one you leave at the home, 1 in the office, 1 in the car?
Yeah, no, I have 1 in the case that goes with me everywhere, and then I have 1 in the office that is there for when I get home. I just plug everything to that.
Okay. What else do you think makes it really nicely loaded?
Well, I guess if we're going in priority, I have an Apple Pencil right here. And I didn't realize this until maybe 4 months ago, that you can use the Apple Pencil to mark mirrors and mark windows and trim. And it's a whole lot better than using chubby fingers. So you can simply just click it, draw, and move where you need it to go.
Okay, so I've never done Matterport. Our company is in the AEC space. We figured out that the Matterport Pro 3 camera solves everything that we need. When you start saying using a pencil to trim windows, mirrors, and walls, what does that mean?
Well, can you see this okay, maybe?
Yes.
You click on this little line icon and you can select window, mirror, or trim. So I'm going to select mirror, add mirror, and then I can use the Apple Pencil to quickly mark it. I'm doing it kind of backwards, so it's not quick, but you can quickly mark it that way. So you would want to trim.
When and why are you marking windows, mirrors, and walls?
Yeah, so you want to mark windows anytime there's an actual window in the building. You want to mark mirrors anytime you see a mirror, and you want to mark trim anytime you want to cut out something. And the reason you mark that is so that the dollhouse, well, I'm not an expert on this, so I'm thinking the reason you want to mark this is so that the dollhouse processes correctly, and it knows, hey, there's a mirror here, and it's not just a never-ending space that the LiDAR can go through.
You nailed it. That's sufficient. So you got a mirror in the bedroom. You don't want it to think there's actually 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms. So you really need to, and in fact, I want to say it helps you in scanning too, because if you're marking that mirror, then it knows not to take into account the data when it's trying to assemble the model based, if you're looking for a common point in 2 360s, and this one has a mirror and it's trying to figure out based on that mirror, it may not align perfectly or correctly because you haven't marked the mirrors. And in a similar fashion on windows, if you don't mark a window, then you're going to enable somebody to walk through a window.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Stay tuned for more WGAN-TV. This episode is sponsored by Momenzo. Create professional listing videos within minutes using your smartphone, automatic editing, and real estate video templates. Save 25% with coupon code GET25 at WGAN.info/Momenzo. Offer may be withdrawn at any time.
What else do you like to carry? Nicely loaded.
I carry extra charging bricks, and I don't have one
That's
readily available.
what's an extra charging brick or power brick? Is that to charge the camera? Is that to charge the iPad?
Yeah, I use it to charge my iPad, charge my phone when I'm on long shoots. So I usually have it in my jacket pocket or in my pants pocket. Then I have wires coming all out of me connected to everything. But yeah, I think the one that I have now is, I think they're maybe 55,000 milliamp hours. Whatever the biggest one that was still compact enough. It's about the size of, it's probably about that big.
Yeah, short answer, you go on Amazon, look for the most that you can afford is probably a good rule of thumb. It's under $100 because most of these things are like $40 to $60. Yeah, and they come with all kinds of configurations. So if you want to be able to plug in a laptop, I mean, at a minimum, you want to be able to charge your iPad and your smartphone. But after that, you might say, oh, I got a laptop and I got and so you can start, you can even get one that you could plug in a laptop with a normal power outlet. So what would happen if you were doing a 10-hour day doing Matterport Pro 3 scanning for 10 hours and you didn't have that power brick with you? What would happen?
The iPad's going to die. And
so there you have it. So while you are scanning, you want to be charging.
Yeah, or at least maintain.
Yeah, I always think about it as ABC, always be charging. So you, as you mentioned, you're going to put the power brick in one of your pockets and you're charging probably your smartphone and your tablet simultaneously.
Yeah.
Okay. What else are you bringing with you? Nicely loaded.
So I think next thing that's nice to have is a tripod dolly. And Newer makes the ones that I have. I have several of them. And it's simply, some wheels about that big on a kind of a star-shaped dolly. And the 3 legs of the tripod screw down into it. And it allows you to roll the Pro 3 and the tripod throughout the space you're scanning. And so if you're scanning a flat kind of space, it's really helpful for that. I use it maybe 40–50% of the time.
So we're talking about warehouse, office space, anything that has wide open spaces versus inside of a house. It's not a solution outside of the house. It's
right. I wouldn't use it for a house. I've used it for a Home Depot style tool warehouse. I've used it for the Santa Clara, I think Hyatt or Santa Clara Marriott was like 70,000 square feet. And that was kind of meeting rooms, ballrooms, that sort of thing.
So Tom, what is the purpose of the dolly?
Well, it just allows you to roll it instead of having to pick up the tripod and move it. That repetitive process can get tiring after a long day. So just the ability to roll it and hit it, roll it and hit it is good.
Okay. So this is for your health I don't know, is there an equivalent term for tennis elbow, Matterport elbow or something if you're constantly picking up the tripod? And second, does it help you scan faster?
I don't know about scan faster. No, I wouldn't say scan faster. Okay. Actually, sometimes it could slow down maybe because you have to make sure that it's not moving, not rocking. So if you're on an unlevel surface, that could be an issue. You'd have to hit the wheel locks and that adds time. So,
okay. So if it's totally flat office, big box, big retailer, this is just going to save wear and tear on your body. Not that you couldn't do a 10-hour day doing that, but when you start to do 10-hour days back to back, week to week, month to month, it may save your shoulder, your back, your elbow.
Happy scanner, happy life.
Sorry?
Happy scanner, happy life.
Happy scanner life, happy life. And they're only like maybe $60 to $80, something like that. We're not talking about something that's super expensive. Yeah. Okay, what else? What else nicely loaded?
Well, we got shoe covers, which is kind of a thing sometimes. We don't hear about it so much these days now that COVID is kind of sailed away for a little bit, but a lot of agents sometimes will ask for them. So I buy a bulk pack of the blue shoe cover, the booties, and I keep those in my trunk. Yeah.
I know one time I scanned let's see, what was it? Oh gee, why we're gonna not remember the name. Help me out. I'll say it. You might remember. It's the where Martin Luther King did services in Junior in Atlanta.
Ebenezer Baptist Church.
Yeah, I scanned Ebenezer Baptist Church, and only because I was wearing the blue booties did the person in charge say it's okay for you to go up to the pulpit behind the stanchions. He understood what we were doing, and he really appreciated that if we could go up on the I'm not sure I'm going to use the right term, but
behind the pulpit or up there,
up on the pulpit,
yeah,
behind the podium with a microphone, that it would enable anyone anywhere at any time to be able to see the view of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It would also give a close-up look. What was behind him was the chorus. And that was totally made possible by the blue booties, because the officer in charge of the museum recognized that I was super respectful of the space, not like any guest just wearing shoes. Yeah. I was literally changing into the blue booties. Anyway,
sorry, is that tour public? Because that's something
it's a public tour. Yeah. I'll put a link in for those that want to see it, and you won't see my blue booties, but there was a docent who is blind, and he had his guide dog in the space. So if I guess there's a little hidden gem if you can find his guide dog in the space.
Yeah.
Let's see. And we've talked about hard case, extra batteries, extra chargers, power bricks, the door stops in particular, the Wedget brand booties. Typically they're blue booties to help you find them on Amazon. Apple Pencil, tripod, dolly, anything. Air tags. I think you mentioned that to me. And
so I actually recently bought air tags, and now I can't stop buying them and throwing them everywhere. And I put out a video on how to remove the speaker from it, which is super helpful, I guess, if you want to delay somebody from finding it.
Okay. If you want to see Tom's video, you can go to his YouTube channel, Sparks Media Group, on YouTube, and that's one of the videos. Just search for air tags.
Yeah. So,
why do you put an air tag in your, or are you putting it, where are you putting it? Are you putting it in the hard case? Are you putting it in the little soft case that comes with the Matterport Pro 3 camera? Where are you putting it, and why?
Now you're just asking personal questions. I hide it somewhere inside the case where it's not really easy to find it. And I did that when I started renting them out, and it actually came in helpful for one rental where the renter kind of went missing in action for about 3 weeks. And I was able to track where exactly the case was. And it didn't come down to me needing to use that for any law enforcement purposes or anything. But it was helpful for at least my comfort in knowing where my equipment was. I could see right where it
Yeah.
was.
We've had at least one Matterport Pro 3 camera stolen, reported by a member in the We Get Around Network forum. And while I would say, to all of us, well, this Matterport Pro 3 camera has no value to anyone other than doing Matterport scans. When somebody does a smash and grab through the window of your car, they're not deciding what to take and what not to take. So your Matterport Pro 3 camera might disappear. And fortunately, I want to say Matterport won't enable it to scan because they know the serial number and they know it's been reported as stolen, but you're still trying to get your camera back. So AirTag.
Yeah, I like them.
What about shoes? Any special shoes that you wear?
No, I don't have any good advice for you on shoes. I just wear what.
Okay.
Wear what I wear.
Okay.
Tennis shoes, some Adidas or.
Okay. I personally recommend the Walking Company. Go online, the Walking Company, and you can walk for 10 hours and you take your shoes off. It still felt like you were walking on pillows the entire day. They're super comfortable, and you can get a special arch that's unique to your foot, and that's amazing.
Okay.
It seems like a silly question to ask, but I think it's actually super important. Snacks. Are you carrying food, water with you? I mean, do you find yourself that you're on location and you're hungry and there's no place for food, or you're?
Yeah. So perfect example was Oracle Stadium, where Oracle Park, where the Giants play. I scanned that, and I guess I was kind of naive in thinking that there was going to be hot dog vendors and churros and all kinds of great snacks while I was there working. But when I got there, I realized that it's completely closed down because it wasn't baseball season. So I was kind of screwed that first day and had to DoorDash. But I went back prepared, and I brought, I happen to prefer Coke Zero or Zevias. So I brought some of those. I brought a ton of water. I'm drinking Smart Water right now, but I usually have like a gallon of water that I'll take with me.
I just mention it because, if you're new, this is your first time doing Matterport scanning, and you're going to be someplace for 5-10 hours, and it may be a place that's closed because you're scanning the space. You better be prepared to either have brought your own food or think about calling DoorDash or Uber Eats or something.
Yeah,
but,
no, it's not even being new. I've been doing this a while, and I still forget about it sometimes. So I actually also have a cooler that's maybe about this wide. It's about the size of the Matterport case. It holds maybe 24 cans of soda, but you can plug it in, and it's a refrigerator / freezer. So I've actually brought that to locations where I know I'm going to be a long time, and I'll have maybe a salad in there or some sodas or Gatorade or whatever I'm going to drink. I'll have it all nice and chilled, so I don't have to worry about having any warm food that, it's been sitting out.
Awesome. Please send us your links if you got them on Amazon, and we'll add them to the show.
Yeah.
Let's talk about kind of the next phase. Okay, you got the minimum gear, maybe you got the maximum gear you need getting started. How do you hook up all your tripod, Pro 3, tablet? You gave us a little quick demo before, but maybe you could just show us that once again, because I'm kind of interested also in that tripod height.
Yeah, so and I don't have measurements, specific heights, but when I'm scanning, I'm usually right around mouth, eye level for me, and I'm 5'9", so kind of in that range.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend going higher, and sometimes I'll go lower if I'm trying to get low level scans of places. I will occasionally raise it up. I did a 2-story kind of foyer one time where I had to raise it up to get a lot of detail.
Let's say you put it all together. Just go ahead and put it together. See how long it takes to do this.
Put this here. And I already had it open, so I'll open it again. and it's together.
Okay. Now, I presume you need to turn it on and sync it with your iPad. Maybe this time you could show us. So, okay, you
Yeah. Let me flip it around so I'll turn it on for you.
press the button. Let's keep your lens cap on it for the moment. As you know, you take the lens cap off when you're scanning, but we see the light. And then maybe if you could hold up your iPad so we can see what's going on over there.
I don't know if are you able to read that okay?
We can see that. We're on an iPad, and I think we're on the Wi-Fi screen. And I think we presently see an iPhone popping up, and I think the camera just popped up. Is that the case? Nope, not yet.
Not yet. No, I'll let you know when.
Okay.
The indicator's not up on here yet, so.
Yeah, we see the Matterport logo still on the Matterport Pro 3 camera. Tom is holding up his 6th generation iPad that's also with a hard case around it that has a way to hold it with just your hand or a strap, and has his Apple Pencil there too. We see the Wi-Fi signal, and then boom, it showed up on his iPad, and then you've selected that as the device that you want to pair.
And that's connected.
Okay, now, is there an app on that iPad called Matterport? Okay.
So I got the Matterport app.
Okay.
I'll open it up.
Matterport Capture app, and we can see other models that you've scanned previously. Okay.
Yeah, and I just deleted.
Could you just take one scan? Oh, maybe open up where you would create a new. We see that it's connected. Your battery's pretty much fully charged. And now you're creating a Matterport space.
I hit new job. It pops up for me to put the address in. I can name the model, which I often do. I'll hit save. Now I'm at the main control screen.
Okay.
So I'm gonna hit the button.
Before you do that, careful that camera's not going to rotate into your computer there. Is it okay?
Yeah, no, it's good.
Okay.
Hold on, I just hit the stop button.
All right.
Now, what you're gonna see once this processes is my big head taking up most of this, but
Can you pull the Matterport Pro 3 camera back a little?
yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
Might even put it over your shoulder just so we can see it rotate.
There we go.
Okay.
Ready?
Do you have the tripod level? I don't want you to lose your.
Yeah, it's level.
It's good? Okay.
Yep. I just hit the button. The mirror starts spinning.
Okay.
And it's rotating.
So you need. So how do you stay out of being in your scan?
I would stay behind the LCD screen on the back. And it does 4 rotations. It takes, oh man, I did a video on comparing the time to the Pro 2. I think it were 20-ish, 27 seconds or something. And it's already downloaded and displayed it. So I'll click on it, but again, you're gonna see me somewhere in here.
Yeah. Okay, nice junior suite. Okay, you're back. Okay, great. So you can preview the scan. So what else can you do? You mentioned trimming that you can, earlier you talked about trimming the mirrors, the windows, the walls. You could preview the scan. What else can you do?
What else can you do? You can do
duplicate the model.
Oh yeah, you can duplicate the model. So that's helpful sometimes. If you're,
I imagine it was helpful when you were doing 90,000, trying to do 90,000 square feet, that you might have perhaps processed the model at 400,000 square feet as a duplicate just to see what you got, and then you started to continue. So you kind of had a fail safe. There were now 2 models that maybe had 400,000 square feet as a backup in case something was going wrong, because you were reporting some it wasn't completing the scans. You were getting errors.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I do a lot of consultation calls with people where they call me to ask advice on how to scan and get into it. And I talked to somebody yesterday and I explained an example at the ballpark where I wasn't sure if they wanted a particular area separated into a bunch of spaces or as one space. And I wasn't able to reach anybody while I was on site. So knowing that Matterport can charge extra to stitch 2 tours together, and they often do charge extra, and it's often a lot of money, I elected to scan the space as one complete tour. And then later on, I duplicated that tour, and then I would delete scan points that I didn't want on the new tour so that I could separate that one tour into 3 or 4 smaller tours.
So that's an example of duplication. Could you move the Matterport Pro 3 camera one and do like 6 or 8 feet and then just maybe do one more scan in the middle of the room?
Real quick.
Yeah. Nice shirt. Scan your space.
Thank you. Thank you.
You can check out Tom's website at scanyourspace.com and sparksmediagroup.com. And again, you can see Tom on previous WGAN-TV shows talking about the Pro 3 camera at wgn.info/Pro3 on WGAN. Okay, so we see the Matterport Pro 3 camera scanning in the background. So I imagine and it's done rotating. So in a moment, we're going to see that scan show up on the iPad. And I noticed that it put down a blue square. That mean anything for you?
That's the Pro 3 icon.
Okay, as opposed to the Matterport Pro 2 camera icon. Incidentally, can you use the Matterport Pro 3 camera and the Matterport Pro 2 camera in the same scan?
You can, and those are Pro 2 icons. I don't know if you can see them okay,
Yes.
but
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, you can certainly mix and match, and I've done that before. If I have to go back to do a scan somewhere, sometimes I'll take the Pro 2, sometimes I'll take the Pro 3. I try to keep them all the same, but yeah, you can certainly mix and match.
So you mentioned you've done a variety of spaces, residential, commercial, warehouses, other spaces. Does that affect how far apart that you make scans?
Sometimes, but not really. I am a believer in having a nice, clean walkthrough experience when you're doing scanning. So I try to scan about every 5 to 7 steps, which might be about every 10 feet, depending, maybe 7 to 10 feet. And I think that gives a nice clean walking experience. I've put out a video where I've scanned or I've tested the limits on how far you can go between scans. And you can actually go 155 feet, I think, between scan points, which I don't know why you would ever want to do that. When you click on it to view the tour, it's like you're Superman flying from one point to another. And it's just not a good visual experience. But yeah, so I don't know.
The good thing, Tom, about you testing that is if anyone anywhere is wondering, well, can I move the camera 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet? Yeah. If you're going from a boat to the dock and you got 50 feet to go, to make that leap, yes, you can do that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So have you used any other 360 cameras within have you used any other 360 camera within a Matterport Pro 3 camera scan? You mentioned you've used the Matterport Pro 2 camera within the same tour.
I might have used, I've used the BLK 360, but I don't think it was in the same scan with the Pro 3.
Okay. So I want to say the short answer is yes, you can use any, whether it's a 360 camera, a Matterport Pro 2 camera, Matterport Pro 3 camera, a Matterport Axis, I suppose. If like a BLK 360 Generation 1 coming soon, hopefully the Generation 2 like a BLK 360. The only thing I would point out is that if you're ordering floor plans or anything else, as soon as you put a 360 camera into that scan, you can't get back floor plans from Matterport. You can get them back from other third-party companies. You can find them in the We Get Around Network forum. And you talked about hiding. So either rotating behind the Matterport Pro 3 camera or hiding in a different place. How hard is it to maybe you'll show us. Can you do a third scan? Just walk around behind the camera?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to get your hotel room here scanned in a second.
I should have done it when I checked in. Now there's stuff everywhere.
Yes, I'm a bit obsessive about that. Anytime I'm in a new hotel, I like to try out yet another scanning device. All right, so let's see. Is it clear of that table? You got room to walk around behind it? All right, so let's see what happens. Okay, and you're walking behind where the LED is. We noticed that when you did the scan, it made a noise. What are the different kinds of noises that it sends back?
Well, it beeps when you click it. It beeps when you click it to start. It beeps when it's done rotating, and then it beeps when it aligns.
Okay, so when it's done rotating, do you start moving the camera, the tripod, or do you wait for it to align before you're moving the tripod, and why?
No, it'll tell you once it's done rotating, it'll say, okay to move. And then you can pick it up and move it. And that's what I tend to do, just to get through the spaces.
So you wait for it to tell you that you can walk, or do you wait until it's done actually aligning? It's slightly different.
No, I wait for it to tell me it's done. I wait for it to tell me it's okay to move.
Okay.
With aligning, and then I'll move it.
Do you ever end up moving and then it tells you it didn't align?
Oh yeah, a few times.
Okay, so this is a personal choice. You can either move the tripod after it says okay to move the tripod, or you can wait slightly longer so that you see that the scan has showed up in the right place on your iPad, your tablet, and then move. And your personal preference is 99 out of 100 times that it's going to align. So you're picking up those extra seconds by just moving it as soon as it completes the transfer of the data to the iPad.
Yeah, and if it's going to give me an alignment error, that means I'm probably too far apart. So I'm going to have to go back the other way anyway. So I might as well just start moving it.
Okay. Any other kind of error messages that you commonly get with the Matterport Pro 3 camera?
Not off the top of my head. We don't get a lot of error messages with it.
Okay.
Alignment issues, but that's even pretty infrequent.
Okay. And I think I've talked to a lot of Matterport service providers who are using Matterport Pro 3 camera on WGAN-TV Live at 5. And I think that's the consensus. One of the benefits of switching to the Pro 3 from the Pro 2 was a lot less alignment errors, scanning errors, overlappings, not enough data for overlapping the scan points, etc. And I think most have said, I just don't get errors.
Particularly in a lot of buildings that have a lot of glass doors, glass dividers, glass floor to ceiling glass windows. With the Pro 2 in particular, you got a lot of issues with that, and you don't get as many with the Pro 3.
Okay, so you now have a Matterport tour, the scan data on your iPad. What do you do with it? How does that turn into a Matterport tour?
Well, when I'm done, there's an upload button on the top right there. So I'll click that, and it'll tell me to improve the quality of your digital twin, we recommend marking any windows and mirrors. And I didn't mark any. But I'll hit upload anyway. Okay. And how long does that take, and then what happens? Give me 1 second because I gotta switch accounts. Okay. So I'll hit upload, and then it'll give me that message. And then it pops up a box, and it will tell me the number of scan points. which is, I guess, helpful now because they're charging for every 200 scan points. It's a new hosting space. So
Okay.
you want to have enough spaces available. I happen to have on this account 14 out of 25 spaces used, so I can upload there. I can choose to do face blurring or not. And if you're scanning a space that has a lot of people in the shots, you would want to turn on face blurring. I did the BMW dealership and they had posters on the wall that had people in the posters, and it actually blurred those faces out too, which was interesting. But once you're done with that, you hit upload. Now, I don't tend to upload until I'm disconnected from the Matterport, because I feel like, I think it will upload. I know it will upload, but it slows down because it's connected to the Wi-Fi on this, and it's still trying to upload through my LTE connection. So I always disconnect from the Matterport before I upload.
Okay, so it's going to be faster to upload using Wi-Fi, and you'll also careful if you're using your cellular and your data plan is not too heavy. You may start to incur data charges by uploading Matterport tours using your LTE, for example.
Yeah, no, I use the LTE to upload, but I just disconnect from the Matterport device.
Okay, so have you experienced that you've run over your data plan because you've been uploading so many Matterport tours?
No, and I'd be curious to see how much data actually gets uploaded. It doesn't seem to be a lot.
Okay, so just at least for our viewers to note that it'll certainly be faster using Wi-Fi, and depending on when you need to get your tour back. So what has been your experience about getting Matterport tours back being processed?
Yeah, they've been kind of all over the place, but more on the quicker side than the slower side. I do see some complaints that it takes a long time to get tours back, but I haven't really experienced that too much. And I've done some weird cases.
Tom, when you say quick, is that 3 hours, 6 hours, next day?
Sometimes it's an hour, hour and a half. Sometimes it's 3 hours. I've done a lot of hotels recently where I'm doing multiple hotel rooms in different spaces, and I'm uploading as I go, and I'm getting tours back before I leave the site while I'm still there. So sometimes it's an hour.
How do you know when your tour is ready?
You get an email that says your Matterport tour, whatever you named it, is ready to view.
Okay, and so you would then sign into my I want to say my.matterport.com to open your cloud account, then to be able to go into Matterport Workshop, and then to begin to view it, doing any post-production. Today's show is limited totally to scanning, so we'll stop there. That said, any best practices in your file naming? You've done hundreds, if not thousands of thousands of Matterport tours. Is there a naming convention that you use in order to keep track of all your spaces?
Well, I put the address in for sure, and then usually in the model information box, I'll put the date. So I'll do like today, 23/09/28 _ and then whatever I'm scanning. So it could be Virgin Hotel _ room 1234, or it could be Oracle Park, or upper level, lower level. What, you can name it whatever you want, but I tend to put the date there first because I do export now and take my tour data offline and get it off the device and store it on my local hard drive. And I like to keep everything by date.
Okay, easy to sort.
Yeah.
How does a firmware update work?
So when you connect, it'll tell you that there's a new firmware update available, and it will prompt you to either install it now or you can wait till later.
So where is where? Is that on your camera? Is that on your tablet?
When it connects to the camera, it understands what firmware is on the camera, and then I guess the app goes to Matterport says, hey, is there a new firmware update available? And if there is, then it connects. So you can find that by going to settings and then clicking on firmware. And it will tell you connected device is my Pro 3, and it says Pro 3 is up to date.
Okay, so if there was a firmware pushed out, is there something that blinks? Is there colored light? Is there something that it's obvious on your iPad that there's a firmware upgrade available?
I've just seen the pop-up box when I launched the app. I haven't seen any other indicators.
So there is a notification when you launch the Matterport Capture app. There's a notification that says firmware update available.
Correct.
Okay, so I think just for our viewers, because maybe a little bit confusing, is while we're talking about the Matterport Pro 3 camera firmware update, it's not sent by Matterport directly to the Matterport Pro 3 camera. It's automatically uploaded to the Matterport Capture app. The Matterport Capture app is looking at the Matterport Pro 3 camera and say, hey, camera, what version of firmware do you have? Oh, I have one that's more current. User, would you like to have the iPad connected to the Matterport Pro 3 camera automatically do your firmware upgrade?
Sounds about right.
Okay.
Yep.
Tom, you covered a tremendous amount of ground. I know this is almost a little bit exhausting to talk about all the things that someone needs to do to begin scanning. Is there something that we haven't talked about that if someone that was totally new to Matterport scanning, totally new to the Matterport Pro 3 camera, maybe they're thinking about buying it, they just bought it, in addition to what we've covered, what else would you want to say to them?
Well, I'll say that when I bought my first one, it made kind of a humming sound that people were describing as a weed eater sound, and I thought that was normal. And it wasn't until I bought my second one, which was this one, and this one was really, well, it might not have been this one, but anyway, I bought my second camera and it was quiet like this one. And I said, okay, there must have been a problem somewhere with the first one I have. So I reached out to Matterport and they were super responsive, and they RMA'd it, allowed me to return it back to them, and they sent me a new one. I had the new one within a day on my doorstep. I made a good video about their customer service experience with that. And one of the ones that I bought recently had a gear, I guess, kind of break inside. There's a gear in there that broke, and it prevented the camera from completing the rotation when it got really hot. So I don't know if it was broke or if something happened, but it apparently got way overheated. And once it cooled down after a few hours, it worked again, but then it stopped. So anyway, they RMA'd that one really quick. Their customer service was great with that. So kudos to them. But if you hear any weird sounds that don't sound normal, reach out to them.
Yeah, I want to say, again, in the We Get Around Network forum, I haven't even looked lately, since we've been doing this since 2014, there have been, let's see, almost 100,000 posts on 17,000 topics. There are a lot of posts. There are really just a handful. There might be just a dozen about people reporting Matterport Pro 3 camera anomalies, things that have been a problem. In fact, yeah. You can find everything in the We Get Around Network forum, WGANforum.com, that's Pro 3 related by searching for the tag Pro 3. And if you're just interested in what problems have been reported, Pro 3 problems, that's a tag. And again, it's only like a dozen problems have been reported. I think, Tom, you've hit the jackpot because you've had sound issues where it was loud. There's only been a couple other people that have reported that. We've had some people report hex nuts coming loose. In fact, just while right now you needed to tighten your hex nut. There have been a few other problems, like you say, where the camera hasn't completed a rotation. But I think it's important to say there's less than a dozen reports of problems, and I want to say anyone that had a problem contacted Matterport. They were super fast about getting a new Pro 3 camera swapped out and getting the anomaly camera back.
And just because they get beat up a lot, I will say that there's no other camera manufacturer that will do that. Sony's not going to do it. Canon's not going to do it. Nikon's not going to do it. iGuide may do it, but they've been really, really responsive, to me anyway, on RMA cameras that have been damaged.
Okay, return authorization, the RMA.
Yeah.
So again, just my last question for the show. Is there anything else that you would say to a newbie to the Matterport Pro 3 camera?
No, I think we covered. Maybe get a hat. I wear sometimes one of those, I don't know what they call them, but the hats that have the brim that goes all the way around. Sometimes I wear those when I'm out on site and it's hot out, just because I have hair issues. So yeah, bring a hat. But no, I think we covered everything, maybe, right?
I think so. Overall, I want to say if you're, a little geeky, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to learn. I mean, would that be the overall? It's like if you've done 10 scans, you've probably experienced any and everything that you probably need to know about how to do a scan with the Matterport Pro 3 camera.
Yeah, I mean, getting it up and running and scanning is certainly easy. I think the skill set or the skill then comes in it. How do you scan and how do you do line of sight scanning and where are you going to put all your scan points? And that's kind of really where you can excel and be efficient scanning spaces and scan them correctly. And, there's some method to the madness on having like an OCD thought process where you're putting scan points so that they all line up nicely and provides a nice visual tour experience. So that kind of is where, learning how to do it is great, just like probably learning how to ride a motorcycle is easy at first, but then the real skill set is practice on where to put those scan points, and that'll help, sharpen those skills.
Tom, thanks for being a guest on my show.
As always, it's a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Our subject matter expert today has been Tom Sparks, founder and CEO of Scan Your Space, a division of Sparks Media Group. You can find Tom on his website, scanyourspace.com and sparksmediagroup.com. And you can also find all the shows that he has done on WGAN-TV Live at 5 about the Matterport Pro 3 camera at wgan.info/Pro3 on WGAN. That has other shows from people talking about their first experience with the Matterport Pro 3 camera, best practices, AEC, all kinds of things. So, Tom, thanks again for being on the show. And folks, you've been watching WGAN-TV Live at 5.
This episode of WGAN-TV was sponsored by Momenzo. Create professional listing videos within minutes using your smartphone, automatic editing, and real estate video templates. Save 25% with coupon code GET25 at wgan.info/Momenzo. Offer may be withdrawn at any time.